Okay, we are now live. I'm just bringing in a couple more people and we can get going any time you're ready, Mayor Edie.
Okay. Okay, we'll ask for the calling of the roll, please.
Thank you. Mayor Edie.
Present.
Reeve Eamon.
Present.
Councillor Koulis.
Present.
Councillor Evans.
Present.
Councillor Hines. Councillor Jamieson.
Present.
And Councillor Sidney.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mayor Edie. Continue.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, I'll ask if there's any declaration of paternity interest on the general nature thereof. I'm hearing none. Okay. And first motion. First motion being with Julia Boudreau, President of CAO, Chris Ferguson, VP, Patient Care Services, and Dr. Angela Barron, President of Medical Staff, appear before Council, provide an update on this community rollout program. Mover, please. Councillor Jamieson, seconded by Councillor Sidney. Now turn it over to Mrs. Boudreau for the report.
Thank you, Mayor Edie. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I was hoping that my internet is going to be strong enough from home here this evening. Thank you very much for inviting us back to the Town Council meeting. And I'm here tonight to present along with Chris Ferguson and Dr. Barron just an update from where we are with the vaccination plan for Renfrew and area. We were last here in March, and just as a reminder to everyone, our first clinic was running out of 100 Health Village Lane, but we are now out at Mattaway Activity Centre. And like most of the practices that we have put in place throughout COVID, we have been doing it from the framework of a dyad, so an administrative dyad along with the medical piece of that. So tonight, Chris and Dr. Barron are here as part of that dyad. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just again, as a reminder, Renfrew County District Health Unit is really responsible for the operations of the vaccine clinics and campaign across Renfrew County and District. And the Renfrew Victoria Hospital really has been a part of that incident management structure since the beginning. So we are responsible for vaccination across Renfrew and area. And we have been most fortunate in terms of being able to engage many interested parties in helping us to be able to offer that immunization program. Local physicians, staff from local businesses, staff who have come out of retirement from the hospital and other healthcare institutions, paramedics, as well as volunteers have helped us to really get this program up and running so wonderfully as it is. And in that group of partners is also, of course, the town of Renfrew, yourselves on council, as well as the recreation department, Kevin Hill, Jordan Wall, and their teams out at Mattaway particularly have been absolutely stellar in terms of helping us to be able to vaccinate the residents of our town. Next slide, please. So really, the vaccination program has only been one part of the hospital's response to COVID over the course of the last 16 months. And really, it's I thought I'd take the opportunity to just remind everyone here this evening that really this has been a priority for the hospital, like many others over the last 16 or more months. So last winter, when the pandemic was declared, we just about immediately struck a command center that would be responsible at the hospital to ensure safe practices as well as the ongoing response to the pandemic. So the Command Center Committee includes our senior management team, physicians, folks from our communications department, as well as our command center lead, who has, fortunately for us, evolved into our vaccine clinic lead as well. And you can see from the list of topics here, we initially met as needed, which may have been daily at the beginning of the pandemic, evolved over the course of the summer to weekly, and we are now meeting on a bi-weekly basis and continue to address all of the topics that you see there, be it clinical topics, could include such things as visiting or what protocol we were going to put in place. You can only imagine, as you yourselves have been dealing with the pandemic, there was evolving protocols that we had to put in place almost hourly at the beginning of the pandemic, and which thankfully has begun to stabilize as we see the province reopening. We continue to have command center meetings at this time, and will continue to do so for as long as we need to, really. Next slide, please. So moving just back to the vaccine clinic itself, many will know that we opened our vaccine clinic first in February at 100 Health Village Lane in close proximity to the hospital. And with thanks to the tenants in that building, we were able to operate what we felt was quite a successful vaccination clinic, pretty much during the evenings, on Fridays, and on weekends. But due to the increased allocations, we were forced to look for another alternate location whereby we could look for or be able to administer more vaccines throughout the course of the week. So we moved the clinic to Mattaway in May, which seems almost like a lifetime ago now. And if anyone has had the good fortune of going there, you will absolutely see that the rink has been transformed into a vaccination clinic, which is almost unrecognizable. The staff there have been absolutely amazing and have responded to every request pretty much that we have made, and have worked alongside as our vaccine clinic team as a true partner. Just dropping down there a little bit, you can see that the week of June 7th, we hit over 10,000 vaccines administered to residents in our area, and many more have been administered in the last couple of weeks, with many more on the horizon. And just a couple of statistics there, as we were chatting about a little bit just before the meeting started. Renfrew County has the third highest utilization rate of vaccine in the province. And our clinic has the 7-day best use of Pfizer vaccine in the province, meaning we are always able to use the full allotment. I would say that the team at our center has been very patient-centered and have gone the extra mile to ensure that not one drop of vaccine was wasted over the course of the last several months. And really this stems from the leadership of Chris, who's on the line tonight with us, as well as Dr. Varon. So just before I turn the presentation over to Chris, I just wanted to publicly not only thank Renfrew Town Council for agreeing to us using the Mattaway Clinic, but I also wanted to just take a moment to thank those folks at the hospital. It really has been an unprecedented year, or year and a half nearly now, for us. And I wanted to thank the board at the hospital, the medical staff, and all of the staff, particularly those that have been on the front lines. Like many, we're looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're really hopeful that many of our staff and physicians will be able to get a well-deserved break this summer. Also wanted to just do a shout out to the residents in Renfrew County, in Renfrew, and in the other areas that we're responsible for vaccinating. Just noting there again, with the third highest utilization rate of vaccines in the province. This is what's really going to get us out of this, period in history, and we are most thankful for it. So with that, I'll ask if we could advance the slide, and Chris Ferguson is going to walk us through the details of the vaccine clinic out at Mattaway.
Perfect. Thank you, Julia. So this is just the layout of the rink, and a lot of thought and effort along with the staff at Made Away with our team was put into how we would actually do the setup. We really wanted to make sure that the patients who were entering, it was easy to find where the entrance was and also easy to find your way out. The entrance and exits are completely separated, as you can see here, and you enter through the lobby of the rink, and the red lines sort of help you to see kind of the flow. We have someone who is a volunteer greeter who is there when you get to the actual rink, just to sort of make sure that you can find your way. We also have set up what's called a little hockey hub model in the corner just as you enter the arena, and that's really there for anyone who might be elderly or not be able to make their way through the vaccination stations because of their inability to walk or for other reasons they just can't get through. We can actually bring the vaccinators to them and the registration clerks to them so they can be vaccinated and then exit through the exit door fairly quickly. So that just gives you just a little bit of a idea of how it's been set up. I know Mayor Don Eady and I believe Sandy came for a preliminary tour when we had it set up before our first day of running the clinic, but probably many of you hopefully in town and on town council and everywhere have been for your vaccine. So hopefully you've had a personal experience with us. You can go to the next slide. Wanted to provide you with just a few pictures of how it looks. And in the top left corner is just a sample of our leadership team that's been involved. So Kate Gahan is our vaccination sort of lead for Command Center. Melissa Gurley is someone who's probably well known to people in the community and oversees our sleep lab and also our sleep store. And she's been clinically helping to lead, and Tanya McGregor, who is one of the clerks within our nephrology area that has joined us for this journey, and myself. And that day, Dr. Varon was there. So I would be not there. So I would be remiss if I didn't say she's missing from the photo, but very involved in the clinic. And in the bottom sort of left, you'll see that's where the registration or the greeter is there to do your screening when you initially enter into the arena. And of course, a picture of Dr. Robert Cushman when he attended the clinic personally to see it, and certainly had very many positive things to say about the setup at Made Away and also just the way that we were running the clinic. So next slide, please. This is just a view of the clinic from the stands of the arena. So you can see how massive it is and how much of the actual ice surface that we're using. And just another at the top corner is just all of our many staff. So just to put things in perspective, on any given day when we are running the clinic, we have 26 staff working there. That's almost an entire department at the hospital in some areas. So it takes a lot of people to help the patients get through the various areas, and a lot of people to make sure that the flow goes well, the patients aren't waiting, and that patients get the assistance that they need and the questions answered that are required for them. So you can go to the next slide. Just for a clinic update. So currently at Made Away, we are running Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday each week. We're giving about 420 vaccines a day for a total of 1,200 per week. I would say that since we made these slides late last week, that's even increased for this week. But we can go up to 672 vaccines per day and a total of over about 2,000 or 3,000 if we were running 5 days a week. So just to show the potential, we really are not sure some weeks how much vaccine we're going to receive. So we have to be prepared to easily be able to up the numbers on any given day. And the space at Made Away allows us to set up more vaccination stations, more registration stations. So if we get the call that there are more vaccines for those in Renfrew and area, we can easily adopt and change our model because of the setting that we're in. For maximized efficiency, we have up to 8 vaccinators per day. And as I said, we can have 26 staff in total on any given day. Next slide. The typical length of time it takes to get your vaccine, just so that to put things in perspective, is really approximately about 30 minutes from start to finish. We've done a really good job for a mass clinic setting to be able to provide privacy. We do have privacy screens to separate the vaccine stations from those waiting to be vaccinated. We have lounge chairs in the back row of the vaccine stations that protect the clients from other clients if and when required. If someone is very nervous to get their vaccine or has concerns or has questions that they would like to ask the physician on duty, they can have some personal time with that person in a quiet area that's separated from everyone else. So every entrance in and out of the arena has a ramp to make it accessible. I would really like to thank the town and council for the sidewalk that was built at the exit of the arena. That was done just in time before we moved over for our mass clinic, and it really does facilitate flow. I have watched many patients walk out with their walkers or family members taking them out in a wheelchair, and the actual sidewalk there lends itself very nicely to accessibility. So it's been very well done and very well timed for us. And I did say we have the mobility restriction sort of area, sort of a mini hockey hub. So if the client does need to come in and isn't able to walk easily, the registration clerk, the vaccinator, and the checkout clerk come to them, and they don't need to travel anywhere until they're ready to leave. Next slide. This is the Renfrew County and District update. So this is the week of June 14th. And for those of you that have been on the Renfrew County Public Health site, you may know that every Wednesday, this is a moving target and this slide changes. So this week on Wednesday, there'll be another update as to how many doses are administered. Along the bottom, you can actually see the percentage by age group. And we've been pretty impressed overall in the county with the number of people in most age groups that are in that 90 to 94%, 87%. And as you get farther along to the younger groups, we're really just working our way through the 12 to 17-year-olds. So those numbers are anticipated to continue to rise for the one dose per patient. So the total number of doses administered in the county, 74,806. I can't believe when we started this journey that this is actually the numbers that I would be showing you tonight. The residents with at least one dose, 63,731, and that encompasses 67.1% of our population. And I'm sure if you look at it this week, given that we had a higher number of vaccines that we were administering the last few days, that on Wednesday, tomorrow, that number will be even higher. So pretty impressive, the work that's been done by everyone who's been involved. Next slide. So just another opportunity, of course, for us to say thank you to Mayor Eadie and the Town Council. And I would echo what Julia has said. Kevin Hill, Jordan Wall, and everyone who works at Made Away does everything they can to help us every day. There's not a time where they're checking in the morning. Someone joins us in our huddles, asks if there's anything else we need. I was there this afternoon and someone else was asking our crew, are you all right? Is there something else you need that we can get you? And they're just close by for anything that it is that might help us to get through our day or anything that's required. So we didn't know how well the actual space was going to work out, and I couldn't be more pleased with the setup. You would not believe the number of thank yous that we get from patients, their families, people who have been vaccinated, people who have accompanied people to the vaccine, about the setup that we're using and the flow that we have, and everyone that's been involved. And just thought I'd throw the picture in there of Mayor Dawn Eadie and the day of our tour, and also Sandy Hines, the day she got her vaccine. She was willing to be part of a photo op. So one of your own getting her vaccine on a day when Dr. Cushman was touring through, and she had the opportunity to talk to him about how Town Council and the Mayor have been involved in this journey with us. So thank you very much for letting us join you this evening.
Okay.
Have any questions?
Okay, Council, I can't see everybody. So is there any questions or comments? Speak up, I guess.
Your Worship,
Yes.
it's Sandy. I just want to say it certainly is a well-run clinic. Anybody you meet that has been there are just amazed how efficient it is, and how, if you're on your first vaccination, they're so willing to book you for another one right there as you sit and wait your 15 minutes in the chair. And it's just so well set up, and certainly a good match for our awesome recreation staff that are accommodating the clinic there. And I know we have good staff that are taking care of them, and that's awesome. That's the way things should work in a community.
Anyone else? Yeah, hearing no one else, yes, I'd just like to say thank you to Julia and Dr. Barron and et cetera, that they're putting this all together, and the job you're doing. And it's pretty incredible. And just for the knowledge of people, it's not just the arena, the lobbyway, and the ice surface we're using. They're using also the dressing rooms and behind for storage, et cetera, and which is kind of nice. So Julia sent us a really nice letter addressed to Kevin Hill and Jordan Wall of Recreation Center. I was copied on it, and I'll make sure that all council members get a copy of that. So thank you very much for that letter. Much appreciated. And much appreciated that you could come to the meeting and update us on where we're going. The people in the town of Renfrew and area here are very, very fortunate to have the team of people working the way you people work. I sat in on I think it was the very first meeting with Chief Welch out of the hospital, and you're just starting to set things up and set in direction. And boy, oh boy, you take, it'll be 3 months in a few days since that first meeting in February 28th. So you've come a long way, and hopefully 3 months from now, we'll all be back to normal as much as possible. So again, one last thank you. And anyways, thank you for being here, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. All in favor of the presentation? Okay. Thank you. Carried. Okay. So Clerk Bulmer, I can only see.
So yeah, Mary, you should see everybody that's on camera. So if you look at the right-hand top of your screen, there should be a view icon, like says view.
Okay.
You should be in gallery view. Click on that and you should be in gallery view.
Well, everybody just appeared, so that's great. Thank you. Okay, next motion. That the minutes of the regular meeting of the council held June 8th, 2021 be adopted as printed. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Hines. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none. Oh, sorry, Rebimo.
I'm just curious, are the minutes that we had the conversation on last meeting, are we ever going to see those? Because I think we passed them, but subject to some changes. So I was curious about the changes.
Councillor Hines can maybe explain that. You're on mute, Councillor Hines.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, we did actually get a copy emailed to us, and I was just trying to look for the date for you, but I just can't see that at the moment. But we did get a copy, and they were adjusted accordingly, and they're just fine.
Sorry.
Kim might be able.
How do we know they're fine?
Oh, okay. Because there was one part changed and it was changed accordingly. But I guess if we're going to, we did receive them at the last meeting, I believe. I'll turn that over to Kim. But Jennifer did correct the new and unfinished business part of it.
Yeah.
They're right here.
Oh, thank you. Yes, my understanding, yes, I was on part of that meeting that some corrections were noted on the new and unfinished business portion. The deputy clerk did make them, and they were circulated out to, I think, all of council
Yeah.
for review. And it's, the minutes were received at council. They don't need to receive the second time. And we made the changes under the authority of the procedural bylaw to make minor edits to the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. Let the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held June 15, 2021 be received. Over, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Jamison. Okay, I'll turn it over to Councillor Hines for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. This was a special meeting that was called to deal with a request for a major variance that we had, and the major variance related to the outdoor patio for Finnegan's Roadhouse. And so the committee received the application, and I said it's a major encroachment is what I should have said. So we received the application for that and reviewed the summary of the patio design, and it all is fine in the eyes of the planning committee and as recommended by the planner. And although this year the fees for the major encroachment agreement are being waived, as we have in the past with the other patios, the applicant will still have to pay for the building permit, which he is very aware of, and he's just fine with that. And when it comes to the encroachment fees, they will be reinstated next year. But we did give a break in regard to that because of COVID. The encroachment agreements are an annual submission. So this patio is the way that it's designed is for this year, as are all of the other ones. And the applicants will submit a new application in the spring of the year, again, if they are going to have another patio. So this was a special meeting to deal with this because we didn't want to delay until our July meeting to deal with the patio. That really, it's nice to be able to have it up and going. I take it they're working on it. And yeah, our next planning advisory meeting is July the 6th. And just a little notation that we're falling a little bit off the schedule in August, in that we're going to have it on the August the 11th, the second week of August. So just a notation if you're interested in joining into that meeting. It's not on the regular day, but on Wednesday, August the 11th. But the very next one is July the 6th. So
okay.
That's the report.
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. The planner with his report dated June 17, 2021 concerning a site plan amendment for Lapine Apartments Phase 2 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Jamison, second by Councillor Evans. I'll turn it over to Planner Withers for the report, please.
If I could just interrupt for 1 second, Mayor Eadie. Councillor Koulis, did you want to be put into a waiting room for this? I know you had declared an ongoing conflict. All right, I'll just put you into a waiting room and bring you back in when we're ready.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you, Mayor Eadie and members of council. So this is, I'm sure everyone has seen the ongoing progress at the Lapine site. They've moved the crane recently, and they are getting started on a partial permit on the second building, which is it'll finish up the interface with the 8th Street residents. And maybe just draw council's attention to pages 16 and 17 of the agenda. Page 16 shows the overall site plan. It also indicates phase 1 and 2, and phase 2 being building E. So it's all excavated now. They're pouring concrete right now, just the foundation. They did run into a hiccup with a bit of bedrock that took them a couple weeks and some extra money to get rid of, but they're through that now, and they're now pouring the concrete. Page 17 of your agenda just shows the two buildings that'll exist through this site plan amendment, along with the temporary storm pond and parking area just above in relative to the plan, just above building A. So there's some additional parking that'll be replaced eventually by parking where you can see the turnaround at the just past building E. So eventually you'll have some more surface parking there. So outside of this site plan, and if there are any questions specifically related to the site plan, it's effectively it's the same building, 63 units, 4 stories. The underground parking extends under this building as well. The underground parking for building A is and the joining part between building A and E. Building A is done. I believe they're still going to be pouring the concrete for the intervening portion there, but it's quite nice. The planning committee recently had an opportunity to tour that site, and Francis Lepine took the committee on a tour, and I know there were some members of council that weren't able to make it, but it was a nice tour, and it's really quite an impressive building. It's a well-run site, so that's all good. So the site plan agreement's attached as Appendix B. If there are any specific questions, it is an amending agreement, so it's a shorter agreement. It's amending the schedules and to the agreement, and for the most part. And I think that's about it. Again, if there are any specific questions, be happy to provide any answers I can. Thank you.
Any questions or comments, council? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, the bylaw 42-2021 be the bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an amending site plan agreement with 475 Barnett Boulevard Incorporated in relation to the property located at 475 Barnett Boulevard, roll number 4748 000 020 15550, be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. The mover, please. Rebimo, second by Councillor Hines. And any questions or comments? Councillor Hines.
Just a quick comment, Your Worship. I was lucky to be part of the tour that Mr. Lepine provided for us. It started at 10 o'clock, and I think we left there at 10 after 12. He was very into explaining every part of the site and how it's put together, and just really took a lot of time, and he really showed certainly how he's thought this out for the people of Renfrew and area that are going to be living there. And it's a pretty solid building, and just a lot of thought put into how traffic would flow and where people would be situated and such. So it was very impressive. So I really appreciated his time. He drove up from Ottawa to spend that time with the group that was there, and much appreciated.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, the bylaw 42-2021 being the bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an amendment amending site plan agreement with 475 Barnett Boulevard Incorporated in relation to the property located at 475 Barnett Boulevard, roll number 4748-000-020-15550, be read a third time and be passed. Need a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Sidney. Last chance, any questions or comments? Reeve Emo.
Yeah, just a comment. I guess I should clarify, the mayor, myself, and Councillor Koulis had another committee and we couldn't make it that day. And I think you're going to hear something later that you'll be happy with from the work that we did that day, but it was municipal business. And to the comment about the building, I did take the opportunity to tour their Carlton Place building when they first announced they're coming to Renfrew, the finished product. It's quite an impressive finish, and was given a pretty extensive tour at the time. So I'm waiting with bated breath for the end product here as well, because I think it'll be quite a building and quite a series of units when it's completed, and I think everybody will be quite proud of it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Reeve Emo. Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, the plan of village report dated June 17, 2021 concerning a sidewalk patio major encroachment at 302 Wagon Street South to be received. Over, please. Councillor Jemison, second by Councillor Sidney. Okay, I've turned over to Planner Withers for this report.
Thank you, Mayor Eady. So this is, as Mayor Eady mentioned, this is the patio for Finnegan's. Mr. Brad Gould is the applicant. He's proposing a patio very similar to what you have at Santa Fe now, Caris Way, with the boardwalk around it, as the sidewalk is a bit narrower at that location. So he's really looking forward to having that patio in place. I know he's been wanting to do it he wanted to do it last year. I think it just didn't work out, but he's looking forward to getting it in place this year. And it'll certainly be a nice addition to his restaurant and provide some nice outdoor seating areas. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to continuing to work with Mr. Gould. It's a standard agreement in terms of the encroachment agreement. Just in terms of the fees, again, council determined that it was appropriate to waive the standard $300 fee. In future years, it'll continue to be required. A building permit's required, given that there is that wraparound boardwalk, and this year, because we're still dealing with COVID, there's some additional requirements. Obviously, the operation of the patio, that's more the health units bailiwick, but we're going to be requiring, just in deliberations at the planning committee, it was determined that there was some concern about pedestrians using a boardwalk beside a patio without having any kind of separation, and understanding that patrons are not masked when they're seated, and usually tables are right up against the railing. So just in consultation with the health unit, the planning committee, and then through council, it was determined that sneeze guards, if you will, you would see at a sandwich store or anything where you have a piece of plastic or plexiglass or any kind of solid material, those will be mounted on the railing of the patios this year. It's not exactly, in my opinion, the most aesthetically pleasing, thing, but it's just something we're dealing with this year. Hopefully, it's not something we even have to think about next year. And then outside of that, the new patio guidelines will apply, and in terms of the geometry of the patio, it's fine. And so yeah, I think that's it. And if there's any questions, I'm glad to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions or comments, council? Councillor Sidney.
It's just a comment. I think I've been receiving a lot of compliments on our main street this year and how nice it looks. And I think this patio is going to add to that and show that it's the trend and the trendiness of Renfrew is evolving, and I think it's going to be a good addition at the top part of the main street. And more, so I think it's going to be really good.
Anything else? Okay, just I'd like to say thank you to Commander Withers for the work he's put into this. It's been a bit of a tour for the last 12 months or so, I would say. And anyway, congratulations on getting it done. And you've carried yourself very well through the whole process. So thank you very much. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. The bylaw 43/2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor clerk to execute an encroachment agreement with Finnegan's Roadhouse in relation to the use of the portion of the public highway known as Ryden Street South, adjacent to lands known municipally as 302 Ryden Street South, roll number 4748 000-030-01300, read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. I need a mover, please. Councillor Hines, second by Reeve Emo. And any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. The bylaw 43/2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an encroachment agreement with Finnegan's Roadhouse in relation to the use of the portion of the public highway known as Ryden Street South, adjacent lands known municipally as 302 Ryden Street South, Renfrew roll number 4748 000-030-01300, read a third time and be passed. Mover, please. Councillor Sidney, second by Councillor Hines. Again, any last chance, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. The planner weather's report dated June 17, 2021 concerning a stormwater pipe maintenance agreement be received. The mover, please. Councillor Sidney, second by Councillor Hines. I'll turn it over to Planner Withers for this report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Eadie. So this is related to the Lapine project, clearly. This pipe maintenance agreement is a requirement of the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks for as long as they remain the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks and not some other name. They have the environmental conservation process, which Lapine is currently navigating, and at a quicker pace than is normal. I'll note. We've been advised that typically these processes take about a year, and we understand it's moving quite a bit quicker than that, which is great. However, as part of this, they need an agreement in place, given that the pipe is not on lands owned by Lapine. It traverses town property, and so the ministry is asking that this agreement be put in place between the owner of the lands and the owner of the pipe. So this agreement provides for the maintenance and responsibility for the pipe, effectively for as long as it's used by Lapine, which will likely be indefinitely or in perpetuity. There's no easement being granted, so there's no interest in the lands that's being granted by way of an easement through this process. It's simply an agreement that Lapine is entering into with the town to use town property for the purposes of this pipe. So it deals with other things like the fact that the town can't sell an interest or grant an interest in the lands without consulting with Lapine to determine whether there's any impact to that pipe moving forward. Just so council is aware, this relates to property that generally follows the extension of the rear lot line of the Lapine site, heading south and west towards Smith Creek. So it effectively follows the municipal boundary on the Renfrew side, all the way down to the creek and then outlets to the creek. And the ECA process that's currently underway relates to that outlet. And so hopefully that's going to be wrapped up in the near future, and we can move forward. This will ultimately allow the permanent storm pond, that clover-shaped storm pond, to be constructed, so the rest of the site can be developed. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But this is an agreement being entered into between Lapine and the mayor and clerk on behalf of the town. Thank you.
Okay, or Director Aslam.
Yes, I just wanted to add that this permanent stormwater pond is redirecting water from its location that normally travels down Barnett Boulevard through our storm sewers and headed towards O'Brien Road, and will ultimately, with the environmental approvals granted by the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, that water will end up going to Smiths Creek. And we did have the agreement reviewed by our solicitor to make sure that we still had the opportunity or the right to construct a road down that unopened road allowance right now, which is pretty much the extension of Graham Avenue. And so the legal people have had a look at it to make sure that it won't encumber our lands in any way for future plans.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. The bylaw 44-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the stormwater pipe maintenance agreement with 475 Barnett Boulevard Incorporated in relation to the property located at 475 Barnett Boulevard, roll number 4748-000-020-15550, read the first time and deemed to have been read the second time. Mover, please. Vimo, second by Councillor Hines. Again, any questions or comments? None. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The bylaw 44-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a stormwater pipe maintenance agreement with 475 Barnett Boulevard Incorporated in relation to the property located at 475 Barnett Boulevard, roll number 4748-000-020-15550, be read a third time and be passed. Over, please. Councillor Jamison, second by Revimo. Any further questions? Revimo, sorry.
No question, Your Worship. Just it's reassuring that the infrastructure will go in such a way that the road allowance is unencumbered and can be used for future transportation needs. So that's, that's the kind of, I think that's the kind of planning and thinking that, we require desperately as our community grows. We're going to need every bit of transportation infrastructure that we can get. So I'm glad to see that. Thank you to the planning department and to Development Works for making sure that happens.
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing nothing, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. The Brentford Town Council passed bylaw number 74-2015 on December the 8th, 2015, designating a community improvement project area for the purpose of preparing and implementing a community improvement plan respecting the revitalization, redevelopment, and enhancement of the town of Renfrew. Whereas Renfrew Town Council passed bylaw number 75-2015 on December the 8th, 2015, adopting a community improvement plan for the purpose of carrying out community improvement throughout various financial incentives and other municipal leadership incentives. And whereas the community improvement plan provides the council that will designate a member of town staff to be plan administrator and to also designate a member of the town staff to be alternate plan administrator in the event that the primary plan administrator becomes unavailable. And whereas Renfrew Town Council deems it appropriate and necessary to designate members of the town staff to these positions in order to facilitate the orderly administration of the community improvement plan programs. Now therefore, it be it resolved, the Renfrew Council of the Corporation of the Town of Renfrew hereby appoints the town planner as the plan administrator for the purpose of administrating the community improvement plan programs, the director of development and works as the alternate plan administrator for the purpose of administrating the community improvement plan programs during times when the primary plan administrator is unavailable. Need a mover, please. Councillor Hines, second by Revimo. Any questions or comments on this? Councillor Hines. You're on mute, Councillor Hines.
Sorry about that. This did, Your Worship, this did come to our attention that when we were trying to tidy up some planning duties, and the treasurer pointed out that this was part of the original bylaw and maybe never was put in place, that that we did need a plan administrator for this CIP program. We have certainly granted monies from the CIP program to various businesses for their improvement and enhancement of their properties. And this just tidies up and matches the bylaw that's already there, so that we do have someone that is somewhat in charge of this program.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I did see Director Askin come on there for a second. Did you have a comment, Director Askin?
Yes, I was just going to echo Councillor Hines. You know, the planning committee had been very, very responsible in feeling that they have a duty to look at the CIP applications and to evaluate them very thoroughly to you know, to make sure that they weren't having a financial impact. But they were getting into grounds that were sort of beyond the mandate of the planning committee. And so this move just clarifies it, that the applications will be reviewed by the plan administrator, which is the planner, and our department essentially, and then reports will be prepared for council. So I commend the planning committee for feeling responsible and for doing all the right things, but they were being dragged into a direction that wasn't the intent of the community improvement plan. So this just kind of sets things in place, and I think just defines the responsibility and the path for applications. So that's pretty much concludes my comments.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I will say that irregardless of how it has been done in the past number of years since 2015, there's been some really good work from the previous planning committee, and things have went well. And so anyway, this just a little bit of new direction. The Chair Planning Hines says just cleans it up a wee bit. So thank you very much. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Let the minutes of the Human Resources Committee meeting held on January 21st and May the 19th be received. Mover, please. Revimo, seconded by Councillor Jamison. Turn over to Revimo for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I can report to the council that we met on January 21st. I apologize for the lateness of the minutes coming to you. If you look down on the number 2, you'll see why I was appointed recording secretary and just didn't get them to the clerk's office on time, so I apologize for that. Turn to page 2. We are in a closed session to discuss some personnel issues, and you'll note the motion, and subsequently this has come to council. that we were consulting with Emo Harnden, our labor specialists, to, at that point, obtain an estimate of costs to provide assistance with the new formatting of SMT agreements and an early retirement proposal. And that was essentially what we met about. Then on May the 19th, we met. And again, I'll turn your attention through to item number 10 on page 2, where we sought some clarity on the Employee and Family Assistance Program. There were 2 programs, and we were just getting some clarification on that. And then we moved into close to talk about QP, non-union terms and conditions of employment and senior management contracts. And I was to report to council in the next closed session, which I did. And with that, that's what I can report to your worship and to council.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm on mute, sorry. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, that the minutes of the Administration, Economic Development and Tourism Committee meeting held June the 3rd, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Jamison, second by Councillor Revimo. Turn over to Councillor Jamison for the report.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, this meeting was for our June 3rd meeting. And just a few things I'll highlight. So we actually have, if you look at 8.11, we actually have room in our budget for 2 of the installations for these signalized crosswalks. But we've decided to put that on hold and wait and see how the school landscape is going to unfold moving forward before we decide where we want to put those 2, because there's a couple of other places that could benefit all of the pedestrians, not just the school children. So we just wanted to put that on hold. And then if you go down to, or the next page, digital training, of course, everybody heard that went really well. Signage on Highway 17, we talked about our last meeting. The 8.2.3, the fountain. So the head of the fountain that we had in the water by the bridge, we didn't put it in last year, and simply because the head wasn't working properly. And so we either need to replace it, upgrade it, do something with it. So when we talked about that, because our PG is doing some work on the dam, we decided not to do anything with it and just wait and see if when that work is done, if there's any enhancement options for us that we could utilize, make that decision then if we want to put the fountain in or if we want to do something totally different. So we just decided to park that as well. And then the next item, 8.24, sadly, we made the decision not to proceed with the beer festival and the food truck, simply because with the restrictions and in place that would, affect the attendance, we just felt that it wouldn't be as successful. And our craft beer guys and our food trucks, the reason why they love coming is because they did very well. And that's the whole point. So we decided rather than risking it not being successful, losing some of our clientele, losing some of our food trucks and our craft beer people, that we just put it on hold and do it next year. And again, we'll be able to plan better for next year because of COVID. And the land sales, 8.31, we're going to hear about that shortly. And then the only thing was a few under new and unfinished business. The main one was RPG is decided to install a double electric charging station on their property. So that's good for Renfrew, because as the highway gets closer to coming to Renfrew, there's more and more people who are looking at electric cars. So they're going ahead and going to install that so that we have another station closer to this end of town. That was our meeting. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The bylaw 45, 2021 being a bylaw to provide for the levy on special collection or special charges in respect to the downtown business improvement area be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Mover, please. Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Toulos. Any questions or comments on this? Maybe Treasurer Riley can make a comment on it.
Thank you, Mayor Eady. This is, if council recalls, when we passed the 2021 tax rates for the municipal levy on May the 11th, at that time I mentioned that we would have to bring back a bylaw to set the tax rates for the BIA because the budget had not been set at that time. The budget was approved finally by the BIA board and was provided last week. So the levy is not changed from 2020, and in fact, it hasn't changed in quite some time at $65,000. And the expenses that are budgeted are classified as admin and operations, advertising and promotions, and beautification. And the beautification line, just for information of council, includes the loan repayment commitment that was made by the BAA with respect to certain asks that were added to the downtown Renfrew reconstruction project. So that is included in there as well. To achieve that, there are a couple of parameters that have been established for a number of years, that the minimum levy would be $25 per property, and the maximum would be $3,000 levy based on the assessed value of various properties. So we do have 3 properties in the defined area of the BIA that are at the maximum. And once we remove those from the calculation, we come up with a BIA levy rate of 0.00296,229, which is in line with last year's as well. So this bylaw will approve that rate, which will then assist the Treasury staff in processing the final property tax bills early July with due dates of August 27th and October 29th. The BIA levy is just part of the regular tax bill that goes out to the properties in the defined area of the Business Improvement Association.
Any questions? Councillor Hines. You're on mute again, Councillor Hines.
Wow. Sorry, I don't really have a question in regard to this bylaw. I just do want to say that I certainly appreciate the work that the BIA has done in regard to their part of the beautification of the street. The planters on the posts are lovely, and getting those lights lit up again on the post is a lot of people are very happy with that. And I know that the recreation department is busy working on planting all of those flower beds that are on Main Street, and certainly what an improvement of the look of that. So yes, Councillor Sidney was very right. People are very happy about how the street looks. So I wanted to send that out to the BIA and also to the Recreation Department for making the street look so well. And their levy is certainly important to keep that street looking the way it is, that designated area.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I do think our Main Street this year, with some of the help from the BIA and our Recreation Department and flowers, et cetera, is going to be very, very nice. Anyway, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Bylaw 45, 2021, being a bylaw to provide for the levy and collection of special charges in respect to the downtown business improvement area, be read a third time and be passed. Need a mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Reeve Emo. Again, any last questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. The bylaw 47, 2021, being a bylaw to authorize execution of a promissory note amending agreement to be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. A mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Hines. We're going to turn it over to Treasurer Riley for an explanation on this.
Thank you once again, Mayor Eady. So this refers back to a motion that was previously approved at council that directed myself to consult with Mr. Jeffries, the president of Renfrew Hydro Inc., with respect to the amending the promissory note. This was discussed at length during the 2021 budget process. So I'll just highlight a couple things. Perhaps if Clerk Bulmer could screen share, there was one small correction that was made subsequent to the circulation of the draft bylaw. So Kim, if you could share that, please. And there we go. If you scroll down to item 4, item 4 on the second page, Kim, we'll start there. So the nuts and bolts of this is contained in paragraph 4, after all the whereas and why fors, that the interest rate, which was currently at 7.25%, it will be reduced to 6.08% for 2021, to 4.9% for 2022, and then for 2023, which will be the year that the new rate application rate goes into effect for Renfrew Hydro, it'll be either 3.72% or the new, and the terminology is the deemed long-term debt rate, whatever that is, whatever's approved the rate application. If that rate is higher than 3.72, then that's the rate that it will be. If it's lower than 3.72, the rate for 2023 will be 3.72. That's spelled out clearly in number 4. And Clerk Bowman, if you could scroll up to about the 5th or 6th whereas. I've highlighted in green here, that language was missing from that bullet. When this draft first came from legal counsel for Renfrew Hydro, it stated that the rate for 2023 would be 3.72%. And my concern that I raised was, well, if the approved rate that they get back from the Ontario Energy Board is higher than 3.72, then the rate for 2023 should be the higher rate. So that language is now reflected in this paragraph as well. As I said, the whereas and why fors leading into this is just the history of Renfrew Hydro, how it came out of the Renfrew Hydroelectric Commission, the amount of the promissory note to begin with, and basically this will achieve the goal of reducing the interest rate being charged on the note to what will eventually be the deemed long-term debt rate that the Ontario Energy Board will approve as part of the Renfrew Hydro Inc.'s rate reapplication, which is due on, it's to be submitted by January 1st, 2022, with an effective rate date of January 1st, 2023. So that's why the 2023 years is the one that's got the exceptional language to it. Thanks, Kim. This bylaw would then authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into that agreement. Just as a note, I did have a conversation with Mr. Jeffries last week. I advised him of what the language tweaking was that I did with respect to the greater of 3.72 or the new rate. And he was absolutely fine with that language and agreed that it should be whatever the rate is that's approved by the OEB or the agreed upon rate of 3.72. So they have, again, their board had approved the draft that came to us, and it's just a very small amendment now to the final document that will be going back to them for approval.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Reid Bemo.
The rate that is approved by the OEB, that rate is the same for all utilities. It's not specifically tailored to Renfrew Hydro.
Mayor Eady, that is my understanding, that it is whatever the rate is, whatever their deemed long-term debt rate is at the time the application is approved. And again, the rate reapplication covers a period of 5 years. So whenever that rate's approved, sometime during the year 2022, that rate will be effective January 1st, 2023 for at least 5 years. But if the rate application went in this year, and it could be a different rate effective January 1st, 2022, but it's based on each individual utility's rate reapplication. And again, if they all renew January 1st, and who's ever in the bunch for this year gets one rate, next year you'll get a different rate, the following rate, but it is locked in for the term of your reapp.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carry. Okay. The bylaw 47, 2021 be the bylaw authorizing execution of a promissory note amending agreement be read a third time and be passed. Member, please. Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Evans. Again, any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. That the minutes of the Fire and Emergency Management Committee meeting held June 2nd, 2021 be received. Need a mover, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Evans. Turn over to Councillor Hines for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. This was our meeting of Wednesday, June the 2nd. And it wasn't a very long meeting. We had anticipated Mr. Dick attending the meeting as a delegation. He was unable to come and is going to be coming to our July meeting. So we were just clarifying the bylaw that's in place right now with him and how his fire works business was going. And we're monitoring that, as you know, so that we're able to have a look at the bylaw, the fireworks bylaw in the fall, and see if we need to have any adjustment to that. We had some communication from the Renfrew Firefighter Association, and we will be reviewing that at our July meeting. And we did receive the action reports for April and May, which I'll ask the chief. He's actually with us this evening. And he's not able to dance yet, but he certainly is doing good after his surgery, and he's joined us tonight. So I'll ask him to speak to those. And under new and unfinished business, we didn't have anything to do for the 2021 priorities. We are waiting on the truck, and the chief will be updating us on that in our July meeting, and I will share that with you at our next, when we bring those minutes to council. Other things for discussion, the employee assistance program, as I understand it, the human resources is looking at that in a whole envelope for all of the departments. And we haven't done anything in regard to a fire master plan. We just have it on there because we have it as a placeholder. We are going to discuss that at some point, but it's not a pressing issue right now. And certainly the chief continues to work with the local efficiency group if there are any efficiencies to be had in regard to sharing services with other fire departments. We'll be dealing with that a bit more in July, and also we will be bringing forward having a review of the fireworks bylaw in the fall. And just on the last page, just a little slight correction, and I'm sorry, the chief does send the minutes out for review from all of us, but we seem to have missed that. Our next meeting is not May 18th, it's July the 20th at 2 p.m. If you care to join us, then pencil that in your book. So sorry about that. So if I could turn it over to Chief Welsh at the moment to highlight the April and May activity reports. And for sure, I want you to take note of the number of recreational open air burning permits that we have. So Chief Welsh, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Hines. Through your worship to the rest of council, just a couple of items I wanted to point out on both of the monthly reports. Both in April, we were up a total number of calls in the month within the town of Renfrew of 17 calls. Compared to last year, 2020, we had 13 calls. So year to year, we were up in the month as well. For year to year, we were up overall. We had 69 calls year to date at the end of April, compared to 55 calls the same time period last year. Our activity hours associated with the different elements within the fire service, whether they be vehicle maintenance, training, public relations is down consistently, but all other elements are associated with our hours continue to be consistent. We are starting to see a pickup in April of the water sales, and that's a direct relation to the good weather that we've had and the opportunity for our construction in the town to take a step forward and be ready for the season. As Chair Hines was identifying, recreational open air burn permits to the end of April, we had 27 sold. And that same time last year, we had not sold any burn permits whatsoever, which brought our total year to date at the end of April of 50 permits sold compared to all of 2020, wherein we had 45 permits that were sold. And if we take a quick look at the May numbers, in the town of Renfrew itself, we had 23 calls within the town limits, and we had another 2 calls to our neighbor as a part of our automatic aid agreement to Admaston Bromley, one for a vehicle collision and one for an outdoor fire, no loss of fire, which brought our total for the year in the month of May to 25 calls compared to 14 from 2020. And year to date, we have a total of 94 calls for end of May 2021 compared to 69 calls in total for the year of 2020. We had a significant number of increased hours in some of our categories this in the month of May, water sales being one of them. An awful lot of our energies are being put into ensuring that all the water required be through our resellers or through our construction work in the town are being satisfied. One of the biggest number that I wanted to point out was the fact that we had the furnace replaced within the, we had a furnace installed, sorry, within the lower portion of the fire hall and to replace the boiler unit that we had. We did have a air handling system put in on the second floor a few years back. The system wasn't able to be maximized its efficiency as a result of the boiler downstairs. So we took the boiler out and we put in a forced air natural gas system in the main floor. One of the great opportunities that we've had within Renfrew to benefit from the cooperation from the different departments was in the retrofitting of this. We had to take out all the piping associated with the boiler on the apparatus floor area, and the great members of the facilities department, recreation and leisure department, and the facilities specifically had a great deal of partnership with them, thanks to Mr. Hill and his team for that. They were able to come in and do an excellent job in removing and, as a result, saving of costs associated with the replacement of this heating system. And I think it was about a 4-day process that they were involved. We had some of our members assisting with them. We had some old auto extrication equipment, specifically a really old set of jaws of life. And we were able to expedite the removal of the pipe by working with the members from the recreation and facilities department by using our jaws to cut open and tear out the old pipe, as opposed to any of the other opportunities that existed. So the recreation burn permits, we sold 11 during the month of May. So at the end of May, our total of 62 sales to year end or year to date of recreational burn permits compared to, as I said, for the entire year of 2020, we had 45 in total. So those are the items that I wanted to highlight. If there was any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions, council? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. But the minutes of the Parks, Recreation and Facilities Committee meeting held June the 15th be received. Over, please. Councillor Sidney, seconded by Councillor Hines. Turn it over to Councillor Sidney for the report.
Okay, so these minutes are from Tuesday, June 15th, 2021, electronically, of course. I'm not going to touch on the expansion because that's coming up next with Director Hill's report. I'm just going to highlight Canada Day is going this year, but it will be different. It is very much virtual, except for the 5-kilometer run, the 2-kilometer stroll and nature scavenger hunt, coloring contests, bingo. There is free ice cream at 1 o'clock at 4 locations in Renfrew. Decorating contests, house businesses, centerpiece artworks, pet costume contests. So all of those, is to do that, take a picture, upload it to social media, tag the rec department in it, and then they'll be voting on that. Now, I want to take a little bit of time to really highlight the fireworks this year. So fireworks have been approved. We are going ahead with them. The time is set between 9:30 and 10. The reason being, depending on if it's a summer, very sunny day, it could be 10 o'clock. If it's a cloudy day, it could be 9:30. So they'll be going off at dusk. So they're in between that window. The fireworks this year are going to be set off at the Visitor Information Center at Harmis Park. The reason being is people are able to park their vehicles because of social distancing and everything at Canadian Tire, Walmart, No Frills. So that allows that to happen. Now, the big thing about the fireworks is we're pretty confident that this will be the largest fireworks display the town has had in at least the last decade, because of the following reasons. We bought fireworks for 2020 and COVID kiboshed that. We bought fireworks for 2021 and we have those. So we have a very extensive fireworks show that is going to be absolutely amazing. So we definitely want to encourage everybody to get social distance, do your part in that part, but take in one of the largest fireworks displays the town of Renfrew's ever had. So that's Canada Day. So we're really happy that things are going, as much as it's not as personal as we'd like it to be. And then we just heard about Horton Heights Park, is the retaining wall is just getting repaired due to a resident up there that had some work done. So that was all the meeting, because it was about there was stuff about the expansion, but that's all coming up next with the report. So that's all I have to report.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Councillor Hines.
Just a question in regard to the fireworks, and I think you kind of said this, Councillor Sydney, in regard to the being set off at Harmis Park, and people are not parking there or along the road, correct? The only parking will be in Walmart or No Frills. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
we don't want people parking on the road. Director Hill can answer if we are having people park at Harmis Park, because we didn't discuss that. I think it's more the Walmart, No Frills areas, but.
And you're expected to stay in your car?
Director Hill, you wanna?
Yeah, there will be no parking at the Visitors Information Center due to the setbacks that are required for a commercial fireworks display. But we are encouraging parking lots in the area to be utilized. And as far as people getting out of their cars, that's, we're asking people to just social distance. We're not wanting to have parties within the parking lots. That's the reason that the health unit has authorized our approach to this year's fireworks display.
Thank you.
And I think just in addition to that, I think stressing the fact that we do not want people parking on the side of the road, because that will cause some traffic issues and social distancing issues and all of that stuff. So just want to reinforce that. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonder, Councillor Sydney, you're sending out special tickets for your backyard. It's pretty handy there.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd be quite nice, but I'm not sure if they'll make it over the trees. So based on the distance. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Just kidding, but anyway, it sounds pretty exciting, the fireworks.
Yes, really good.
To see something like that back in Renfrew again. It's been now. And I know over the years, that's one of the highlights of the town every year. So bigger and better this year. That's good.
Thank you.
Anyway, any other comments on recreation report? Hearing none, all in favor? Very, thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda. Number 22, the report presentation concerning Mattaway Activity Center expansion project be received and the Director Hill be heard before council to provide an overview. Mover, please. Councillor Sydney, seconded by Councillor Koulis. Turn it over to Director Hill for this report.
Just ask if Clerk Bulmer could do a screen share for us. That would be great.
Okay. Okay. Which document would you like up first, Director Hill?
Site plan, please.
Site plan?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
Just one moment. Okay. How is that?
I've included this site plan in everyone's package that was distributed to you for your review. But there's a few things that I would just like to highlight within the site plan. Mainly the parking lot to the rear of the expansion. That parking lot will now be utilized not only the Lindsay Field in the summer months, but also will service the needs of the expanded arena complex throughout the year. We are looking at there's currently a ditch that goes down that separates the access road that goes around the facility. We are looking to install a storm drain through that ditch, enabling us to turn that ditch area into parking spaces as well. The adjacent or the access road will be relocated that will come through the parking lot that is adjacent to the Lindsay Field and joining back up to the current road that enters the arena complex. Currently, as Kim's indicating with the cursor there. So it'll come around the facility. And what will happen is the current entrance off of Mattaway Park Drive that services the splash pad and tennis courts now will be shut off. And there will just be one access point off Mattaway Park Drive that will go around the facility, as well as the area that people currently use going to the rear of the facility. As a result of the expansion, we are looking at relocating the tennis courts. I have been in discussion with the tennis club, which we'll talk about later in the presentation, but the tennis courts will be relocated to the north of where they're currently located. And as you can note, the additional parking spaces that have been identified will address the municipal requirements for such an expansion. So because the original facility had a great deal of parking in the main parking area, the requirements that our site people have looked into are minimal and have been addressed through this site plan design. So we're quite pleased with that. Kim, if you could turn to the ground floor, please.
Just give me a moment. Ground floor.
The ground floor design is before you. The current design is at 60,678 square feet. And there is one area that I have added to the drawing because the drawings as presented were that of when the grant announcement was made. There has been one slight addition to that, which I'll identify as I walk through the facility. To the rear of the facility, we have an NHL size ice surface with each of the corner areas identified in blue as storage pods with approximately fixed seating for 100 persons surrounding that ice surface. So minimal seating, more of a identified practice facility, but will have seating for spectators to view at. There will be, in front of the ice surface, there'll be 4 spacious dressing rooms with 2 universal / referees rooms available, a retail store retail space requirement to the rear of to the upper portion of the building, just a little higher there, Kim. Right to the left. Yeah, just to the, as you're exiting the facility there. Then there's storage adjacent to the gymnasium that will service the needs of the gymnasium for all of its programs and activities. And then we have a universal washroom on the main level, as well as a maintenance area. The blue section to the top of the, or that section as well, and to that area as well, will be tenant space. And there was a change from the original design that we showed the public at the public meeting, where now the gymnasium has been enlarged to be regulation size. There's 2 change rooms as well as washrooms and storage area adjacent to the gym for participants to enter and exit through. And then the circle area at the top left of the screen is the Indigenous Cultural Center, as well as some tenant spaces down below, and then the administrative offices in the brown area to the bottom of the lower right there. And that will be the administrative offices for the department, with an access point at the front of the facility there. If we move to the second floor plan.
Just 1 second. Second floor.
Second floor plan is 28,955 square feet, giving us an overall total expansion of 89,633 square feet. What you'll see here in the green surrounding the ice surface is an elevated walking track, something that we're looking at to provide a more safe environment for persons using that. It was at a lower level, but given the entrance and exit to the ice resurfacer room, it was felt that we should look at elevating that, and we will be working with our contractor to ensure that feature stays within the facility design moving forward. In the purple area, we have our fitness center, and adjacent to the fitness center, we have 2 change rooms, washroom areas, as well. Behind those are the storage areas. The long linear room there is a storage area to our program rooms. As well, there's a university or accessible washroom, mechanical room, and 3 of the brown areas that the cursor's on now are our program rooms that will offer programs, and various programs that are currently offered at the rec center will be provided in this area. The blue area on the second floor, straight up, is area that is open at the current time. We don't have a tenant for that space, and we'll be looking to utilize that for our programs until a tenant is secured for that area. To the left of that area, we have the second floor of the Indigenous Cultural Center, and then below we have the blue area, which is additional tenant space. And in between those 2 tenant spaces, you'll see an open area right where the cursor is. That area will be utilized in the short term for program area, but it does allow an opportunity for our current tenants to expand their space down the road should the need arise. Is there any questions about the design, or any questions or comments that anyone wishes to ask at this point before we start the presentation?
I see Councillor Jamison with her hand up.
Okay, Kevin,
Yep.
I just wanted to know, when you, in your other part of the program there, when you talk about space, leasable space, I want to just have an idea which one is, hang on a second. Let me find it here. You've got the square footage per area, right?
Correct.
Okay, so The first one, the 10,700 roughly square feet. Which one is that? Is that on the first floor or the
No,
second?
that's first and second floor. That will be the Indigenous Cultural Center.
Okay, so that's the tenant space that you're talking about?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then the next one, there's other areas there that are identified for our 4 different tenants.
Right.
And at this point, until we have lease agreements in place to be presented to council, we are keeping the identification of those tenants confidential. We want to try and have it as a media release for them. So, but I can discuss, the square footages are exact to the square foot as taken off by N45 and presented to us as a Schedule A to their lease agreements that we've sent to the tenants for their review.
Okay, but yeah, I'm not interested so much in who the tenant is the size of the space that each of these tenants are getting. So is it all in this, all the blue stuff is the tenant space, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, Kim, if you want to switch it to the presentation.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, so we go to background, just to identify a few key dates. An interesting date that on today's date, 3 years ago, the original tender closed. When the project was designed and went to tender under a stipulated price agreement, the tender did come in over budget, but we worked with the low bid proponent contractor to work through value engineering. And during that time, we had done a number of changes to the complex to bring the complex in on budget where we needed to be to make the funding formula work. During that time, there was an announcement made that the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program was going to be announced in the near future. So at that time, council directed staff to end the original tendering process, which we did on September the 6th, identifying the low bid proponent, that the tendering process was going to be canceled due to the grant announcement. On September the 19th, 2019, we went out and requested RFP from the 5 pre-qualified bidders to submit their construction management price and a proposed costing for the facility in preparation for the grant that we were submitting for. So we did receive 4 proposals for the RFP for construction management. And on November the 12th, 2019, we applied for the ICIP funding, which is Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. Later on, as the time unfolded, we did go back to our 2 of our RFP construction management people to update their costing as we anticipated the announcement of the ICIP grant, which did come in on April the 16th, 2021. And as a result, on May the 13th, we again asked for our construction management firms to update their RFP. Due to a number of factors that were presented within the RFP process, we did cancel that process on May the 26th, and then on June the 8th, released a more formal RFP proposal to our 5 previously pre-qualified proponents, as well as 3 that had expressed interest in the project since the ICIP grant announcement was made. And on June the 18th, we did receive 3 RFPs for construction management. And since that date, we have been evaluating those and will continue to evaluate those RFPs in the next coming days, in the next 3 or 4 days. So just want to walk you through the funding formula. For some, they may wish to refer to the single page Mattaway activity expansion request for proposals, which identifies on the left-hand side of the column a 20-year debenture, and on the right-hand side a 25-year debenture. But I just walk you through on the new construction. It's been identified that new construction for the facility will cost $17,443.555, and that's the estimated cost that the construction management firm has put on to the project to today. Once the project is tendered, this project may be reduced in cost, or there may be an increase in cost, and that's the benefit of working through a construction management build, is that should something come in over budget, it provides us with the opportunity to make changes or look at changing some finishes or what have you to bring that project in as near budget as possible. For construction management, we have identified $1,010,626. Again, the proponents, the three proponents that we received proposals from, have provided us a range of 3.75 to 4.4% on total construction costs. So we budgeted the 1.01 million for that. The original design of the project was 356,500, and with the number of changes that have been made and the time spent on this project over the past 3 years, the additional design and engineering for this project will be 430,000. Our non-refundable HST will be 338,600, and depending on the amount of contingency spent, will determine whether it is affordable for us to secure a 20-year debenture or a 25-year debenture. So that's why there's a range for the grand total expenses at the bottom of $20,518,281 to $21,457,281. And the variables here are the contingency, and the more larger variable is what the interest rate will be at the time that we borrow the money for the debenture. But we'll explain that later in the presentation. The funding formula, the revenues, the one-time revenues that we will place towards the capital costs will be that from the second ice pad committee of 140,000, development charges of $173,100. The opportunity cost for council to allocate part or some of the unallocated reserves, I leave that as a to be determined, because it's a project that, you know, we have the opportunity. There's unallocated reserves available. It's a line item that unallocated reserves could be placed towards to help offset the annual debenture payments that would need to be paid on this project. So at the end of the project, we will revisit the funding formula, and it's an area there that we can look at to possibly allocate, whether it's, I'd like to allocate the remaining amount, but that's just me as the recreation director. Council may see it differently, but there are funds there available to do that. Recreation major capital available is $307,800. Our ICIP grant, Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, we were awarded $11,807,200. The provincial share of 33.3% of that was $5,366,618.78 to be exact. And the federal portion of 40% is $6,440,586.60. I'd really like to thank our MPP, John Yakubuski, and his staff for all their efforts there in assisting us throughout the grant application process. Laura was very accommodating to assist us, and I know that Mr. Yakubuski had us and supported us in the grant, and we do recognize and appreciate that. And as well, the work of our consultant, Carmen Gould, for all of her guidance and assistance in the years past of grant application, and her help and assistance in preparing this document was greatly appreciated. There is an outdoor rink reserve of $65,000, and the tennis club I have to be determined, and we'll talk more about that later in the presentation. So thus leaving us $12,493,100 as a one-time funding that can go towards the project. And again, I speak that depending on the monies that are spent out of our contingency fund, and depending on the interest rate that we are charged at the end of the completion of the project to our debenture that we have to secure, will determine whether we can afford to go a 20-year debenture or a 25-year debenture. We, at one point, we were, prior to COVID and prior to the costing changing on the facility, at one point, we had worked the numbers at a 15-year debenture, which was quite exciting as well. But the interest rates were lower. There's a number of factors there that contribute. What I do want to identify is today's rates, or I believe it was yesterday's rates. The 20-year rate yesterday was 2.52, and the current 25-year rate is 2.64. So again, we've put together what we feel is a conservative number at 3% or 3.2% to provide a very clear picture for council of where we can be at the end of this project. Now, part of the annual commitments that will assist in paying for the debenture payments, we have, with the closing of the rec center and relocating it to the expansion, there will be a savings there of $62,800. And looking at the net incremental revenue for the new facility, we understand that the expenses, whether it's water, hydro, utilities, all the utilities, maintenance and repairs, those numbers are going to go up. One of the numbers that won't go up in proportion to those expenditures are that of staffing, because the current staffing will be able to accommodate a great portion of the maintenance and organization, ice resurfacing, all the cleaning, repairs, what have you. The net revenues will go up considerably. Our net expenditures won't go up. And at the end of the day, the net revenues will exceed the expenditures by $140,000. We have put together and presented to the rec committee a new budget for the facility upon opening. And at the end of the day, there is a net revenue increase of $140,000 there that will go towards the annual debenture payment. The next item that we are looking at, and we have secured, and with the support of the community behind the project, we are quite pleased to announce that all of the naming rights, with the exception of one multi-purpose room, has been sold to date. They will be announced down the road when the project possibly had a groundbreaking or what have you, but we have secured all of the naming rights. It states at the bottom, any of the dressing rooms 1 through 10 are still available. We have not, tried to secure those at this time, but an annual contribution for a 10-year commitment will be $40,000, $250 at this time is what we have committed. That number can go up by another, 11,500, but again, what's committed to date, we have included in the presentation. Funding formula for lease space, tenant 1, which is identified earlier, is that of the Cultural Center at 10,716 square feet. We have a 5,795 square foot tenant, a 3,124 square foot tenant, and 2 are just over the $3,000 mark, or 3,000 square foot mark, I apologize. Thus giving us a annual contribution of $288,306 on an annual basis. And the numbers provided in this presentation are year 1. There's also a CPI increase on an annual basis that we've not taken into account in this funding formula. But that is the year 1 of 10 lease agreement. And the tenants also have the opportunity to renew 2 terms at 5 years apiece within their lease agreement. And we're quite pleased working through the details with our tenants, potential tenants, that they're satisfied with their floor plan now, and also with the they currently have the lease and reviewing it, and have provided comments back to us to forward to our solicitor. So things are moving along quite nicely there. Our ICE users have been informed since day 1 of this initiative that there would be an increase of $5 per hour under their ICE rentals. So there will be an ICE user surcharge of $20,000 annually. And the tennis court revenue, again, depending on the discussions with the tennis club, there's a number that will be placed there. It's just we don't have that number at the time of presentation, but we will be working through that with the tennis club. Therefore, the annual savings that we will have, or the revenues obtained, will be $551,000. So depending on the debenture, whether we have a 15 or a 25 or 20 or a 25-year debenture, we could be looking at a $16,250 surplus to a $29,000 annual surplus. And it will be my recommendation moving forward that any funds that we do generate there would be put into a life cycle planning budget for this facility, as there will be repairs and maintenance required over the long term. And I think it's very similar to what was done when the original facility was built. And I believe there's still, I believe it goes back to that, where they were putting $50,000 annually into a reserve fund for those major capitals. So at the end of the day, we are looking at a surplus on an annual basis. There are a number of factors, and those factors being how much of the contingency is spent, what the interest rate is at the time that the project is completed, and how the build goes. But right now it's looking extremely positive, and the numbers are there for council to review. And if there is any questions on that, we can deal with it in a bit. The next slide is that, as you saw on the site plan, due to the design of Mattaway activity, the expansion project, the current 4 tennis courts will need to be relocated on site. Staff have met with representatives from the Renfrew Tennis Club to discuss location, financial commitment, and timetable. We also have been approached, and I know a number of council members have been approached by a local pickleball group as well, and they now have expressed interest in the relocation project as well, where they'd like to get involved and have their sport to be able to be played on those courts as well. We have priced out the cost. Staff have ran through the numbers. Our estimate is $550,000 to relocate the 6 courts. And we did receive one proposal from an Ottawa firm, and their costing is $701,000 plus lighting to construct the new 6 courts. But we are meeting with that individual on Monday morning, hoping to get more insight into it. And as well, we also have 3 other companies that we're waiting to hear their proposals back on a costing to build those. So overall, going well. We just have to finalize some details there. The biggest concern that we have is the transition, and we want to minimize the impact that it's having on our tennis courts. So we're trying to look to have the project started this year and finished next year with minimal impact on the playing season of the tennis club. Next slide, Kim. So we have slightly changed the recommendations that were presented to you. Clerk Balmer has taken the data that was presented, slightly changed it, but I just want to review the staff recommendations at this time for council's consideration, and that being that council support and endorse the Mattaway Activity Center expansion project as presented, and further that council authorize staff to enter into a CCDC 5B contract negotiations with the successful proponent following final review of the request for proposal evaluation, and further that council authorize staff to continue to negotiate a financial commitment with the Renfrew Tennis Club and to report back to the next regular meeting of council, and further that a special meeting of council be held the week of June the 28th to consider a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a CCDC 5B, contract with the successful proponent. So if there's any questions, I can address them at this time and look for council's direction on the staff recommendations.
You're on mute.
Yeah, just, and then Councillor said,
Thank you very much, Kevin. Greatly appreciated. I know it's been a long haul. So I want to first off thank you and your staff for the fantastic work and the dedication to really hammering the numbers and doing all that work, and that's awesome. Just one quick question. I know that the tennis club has come up and the tennis courts and all of that stuff. What currently does the tennis club pay, like for rent and stuff like that, to the rec department, like same as minor hockey and all that stuff?
Currently, the tennis club pays for all the repairs and maintenance to the facilities, as well as take care of the electrical bill for the courts. But there's no hourly rental charged. And I believe that dates back to an agreement that the tennis club has had with the town for a number of years, I believe for 40 years. And again, we met with the club to address the cost, identifying that there is a need to relocate the 4 courts. There is a wish from the tennis club to expand the number of courts to 6 courts. And we met and had a very, I feel, a very open and frank discussion with the tennis club, addressing the cost impacts of where we're at and what the cost impacts will be to enhance those courts from 4 to 6. And again, I know that the club has met and we will be meeting with them again to bring back a proposal from the club and to discuss it at the rec committee level. So we are having good discussions with the tennis club, and it is something that they do want to look at enhancement of what the current courts consist of, being 4 courts to 6, and hopefully in the next very short time we'll have a proposal back to rec committee to consider from the tennis club.
A follow-up, Mayor?
yes, absolutely.
So I just want to be clear, because I want to make sure that, we've worked so hard on this for eons, it seems like, and we're finally at I'm hoping the go point. but I just want to make sure that we're very transparent, and being chair of recreation, that's kind of my goal always, is to be transparent. I want to make sure that, and I welcome the opportunity to speak to the tennis club, and I hope they are coming to a rec committee meeting, because it could look skewed, or it could look different, that you know, municipal dollars are being spent upwards to $500,000 to $700,000 for a private members club. So I want to make sure that it doesn't look to come across that way, because it could very well be determined if you have to be a member of the club and only members can play tennis, then it's just, I want to make sure. So I'm looking forward to that discussion, and again, thank you for all of that stuff, so we can carry on. Thank you.
Do you want to get into that here, Councillor Hines, or do you want to wait for a different meeting?
What's that? No, I just want to clarify something. It's not a private members club. It is a municipal facility. And because of COVID, you need to be registered to play. That's the difference. It's anybody could have played with a court fee before, but I do not want to get into that right now. And I look forward to the tennis club coming to the rec committee to educate that comment that Councillor Sidney has said many times to me, and I've tried to clear that up with him several times, but nevertheless, I look forward to them, you hearing it from other lips than mine, because obviously it didn't sink in from me. I just have a comment in regard to the pickleball group coming forward. I have not had any correspondence from them. I understand they've written a letter to council, but I haven't seen that. And I'm just wondering what kind of numbers they have to, you know, to bring that forward at this time and add on to that project. The tennis courts were never part of this until such time as the cultural center had to go over the top of the tennis court. So, I mean, relocating them is, you know, we have tennis courts now, and relocating those courts would be important, that we're not playing in the middle of the cultural center. And so that's where that came from. It wasn't the tennis club came forward and said, hey, build us 4 new courts. But we had some discussion with Director Hill in regard to the possibility of building 1 or 2 more courts to accommodate the number of people that are part of the tennis group, the people that want to play tennis. And that's where the other 2 courts came into it when we're going to be building anyways. And that's why the tennis club is taking on the idea that they're willing to contribute something to the capital cost. So they aren't just sitting there waiting for those things to be built. And in all fairness, if there were just 4 courts, I suppose the town could just build them and replace what we already have. We're quite happy with as a tennis club, quite happy with what we have. And as a matter of fact, they were just resurfaced, to which the club has paid an amount towards that resurfacing, and secured some other funding to help with that resurfacing. And as Director Hill said, all the repair and maintenance and the cracks and stuff has been done by the tennis club, purchasing the plexi pave, or whatever you call that rubber type crack filler. All of that, it has been done. So, I mean, we work very closely with the recreation department in regard to what is done out there and what is required out there, but pretty much not asking for a lot. When, I mean, maybe a picnic table or 2, which Director Hill is very good to supply, that, you know, it's there, but we haven't really had those when it was really bad COVID time, because we weren't encouraging anybody to be sitting around out there. So it's been a little different the last 2 years, but I really look forward to them coming and being able to speak to you in that regard. But as far as the pickleball people go, I think we need to understand their needs, the numbers they have, what contribution they might make, and not keep kind of adding to this project. You know, we always look when we talk, and I'm going to say the bad word, when we talk about the pool, we always look about how we might assess how many people would use it and how the need is and all of that. So I think that's really important when we go to build anything here, whether it's a walking track or a pickleball court or whatever. I mean, we need to not add anything else just because we're doing it now and because we're going to be digging in the ground. But I mean, I can understand the need for the track. If you've been away with any hockey teams before their games or tournament games, they use the tracks and such, and that is important. And this will also facilitate people in Renfrew who love walking, and in the bad weather, that will be where they can really go. So, you know, will there be a cost? How will that be monitored? That all still has to be worked out. But in regard to this presentation, I think Director Hill and the Recreation Committee have done a great job in putting this together and trying to make the numbers realistic to us now that we have the grant. And unless we'd like to send the money back, I think we need to have a really good look at this and say, we got to get on with it and stop delaying.
Okay, Councillor Sidney.
First off, I just want to, you know, having a councillor tell another councillor that apparently it didn't sink in, I take offense to that, and I would highly recommend choosing words differently. But I'm just for clarification, can you please let me know, Councillor Hines, were you speaking as a councillor tonight or as the president of the tennis club?
I'm speaking as a councillor, and I know quite a bit about it because I am in that position right now, but I am speaking as a councillor because this is a facility. I mean, do you skate, Councillor Sidney? I don't know. That's the same kind of question. And I do apologize for saying that to you, but I am offended when you say it is a elite club or whatever your words were. You have said that many times, and you and I have had discussions about that. And I have told you that that is offensive, and you aren't saying the right thing.
Okay, so just
for clarification, club, and that's very offensive. Anyway, I don't think that we should be discussing this back and forth. I do apologize for saying it didn't sink in, but I get kind of tired of saying the same thing, and you keep saying over and over it's elite and no one else can join. You make it sound like no one else could have come out there and play.
No, you have to. When somebody pays a court fee to go play tennis, does that money come to the town?
Pardon me?
When somebody pays a court fee,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't come.
Nor does the town pay for any instruction programs that go on out there.
Okay, I just want to clarify.
And that has been, you know, as Director Hill said, that's been going on for 40 years. So, you know, I mean, we need to have a look at it and we need to talk about it, but we need to talk about it in a very civil manner and not accusations that it's somewhat of an elite place.
Right.
We can call a truce on this.
That's a good idea.
It'll go to another meeting where we can discuss.
That's a really good idea.
But Director Hill will have a lot more information down the road. Review.
Thank you. And if I just might add, it's always good if we have information on paper so that we're not trading trading words and misunderstanding each other. So I'm glad both members of the council realized that. So thank you. Just to the project, thank you for the presentation. And I think as Councillor Hines has said, it's time to get on with this. It's been pretty thoroughly researched. We're extremely fortunate that we have the partnership with Bonachère Algonquin First Nation. That is one of the driving forces to getting this project funded as entirely as it has been. There aren't many awards across the province of this nature and of this size when you take a look at the project that's funded by the grant applications. And we know from making the presentations to the various ministries and ministers, they were very impressed with the mix, the partnership with Bonachère Algonquin, also the lease space, and then what we termed as an employment center, because there are going to be people there on a daily basis, and municipal infrastructure, especially infrastructure such as this that services people, needs to have bodies going through the door. And so I think it looks like there's going to be 40 to 50 people on a daily basis going through the door, and that should generate other opportunities in the future, and other tenants, as well as possibly in future expansion, the ability to finance using some of those tenants. So this is a really good project because it mixes together health, mixes together education, culture, recreation, and employment at the same time. And I don't think there are that many projects around us to do the same thing. But also when you take a look at the magnitude of the funding that we received, I think it's indicative of the partnerships. And so, I'm really excited by it. I think it does a lot of things for the town as a corporation, but also more importantly, the town as a community. And I'm quite anxious to get the meeting on the 28th with the final details. And again, any of the user groups, I'm hopeful that we can see, fairly detailed business plans. We'll talk about their revenue, their expenditures, their 4 or 5 or 10-year outlooks, so that we can use that for planning. So I'm anxious to see the details. I'm anxious to see what the tennis club comes forward with. I hope that, they've had a 40-year partnership. I hope we can get another partnership. And does anybody want a dog? Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Councillor Koulis?
Through you, Your Worship, Reeve Emo just mentioned a date, the 28th of June. What are we expected to do here tonight with this proposal, with this presentation? Are we supposed to, Kevin Hill, maybe could, Director Hill could maybe answer that for me.
My apologies. The approach that we would like to take as we are finalizing, we went through stage 1, 2, and 3 of the evaluation process. We are looking to go to stage 4 and interview 2 of the proponents. And that interview phase, we're looking to complete on Monday. And we are hoping, and it will give council time to digest the presentation. I wasn't looking to have a meeting tonight with the tight time frame of closing the RFP on Friday, trying to evaluate it over the weekend, and then have a presentation for council. We haven't determined at this point the successful proponent. We have narrowed it down to 2, and we would like to complete the interview process on Monday, and then making a recommendation to council as part of a bylaw to proceed with the proponent of choice, and having time to have legal counsel review the CCDC 5B. So that is our intent, that we would have a special meeting at council to award the project to the successful proponent, whether that be Monday evening or Tuesday evening, so that we can award on Wednesday. is our hope, and have a secure CCDC contract signed and endorsed by the clerk and mayor by Wednesday of next week is our hope.
Any other questions?
One more, one more question, Your Worship?
Yes, I'm sorry, I can't see you, so go ahead.
On the 28th, then we will go through the proposals. I am looking at, in earnest, this on page 10 of this report. By the way, it was very well done. Of the estimated budget amounts of $550,000 to $701,000 for lighting and construction of new tennis courts, that will be reconsidered. I'm assuming,
Yes,
before any money is spent or any money is committed to that particular aspect of this expansion.
yes, and again, until a decision is made on proceeding with the project, the relocation of the tennis courts will come through the contingency portion of the funding. It's work that we are going to complete outside of the scope of work. It will not come under the CCDC 5. It's going to happen outside of the construction area, and with all probability that it will start prior to the arena project or the arena expansion, because we see that the arena portion will be the first to be commenced, and then they'll move towards the front of the complex, taking in the gymnasium as a sort of a second phase, and then the retail, tenant space, cultural center as the third. And the reason I state that is the arena portion and gymnasium portion has been designed and engineered through the original tender process. The tenant space and the cultural center is being worked on as we speak by N45 to come up with those engineered drawings. So no decision or the recommendation of council tonight is not to proceed and break ground tomorrow on relocating tennis courts, because they're looking to play out the rest of the season. We will be discussing with the successful proponent a time frame of when the tennis season will end this year, and when we will be looking to relocate the courts to accommodate where the location of the cultural center will be placed. But the money for that relocation is included in the presentation under the contingency area. The determination of whether we are building 4 courts or 6 courts has not been made. There will be discussions with the tennis club, with the rec committee, and back to this council to approve those proposals. But the monies for the work is included in our budget. We're looking forward to moving the project forward, as a number of council members have stated, and I appreciate that. And we will work through this as detailed as possible with our proponent, and also with the various people affected by the move and the transition. There's a lot of balls in the air that we are juggling at this time, and we're wanting to make this project as seamless as possible. I am sorry. And we will be keeping council informed on a bi-weekly basis at every council meeting from now until the grand opening in October 2022.
I look forward to seeing this report come back.
Okay, Councillor Jemison.
Yes, Kevin, I just want to compliment you on the report. It is a really well done report, but I am frustrated with the whole tennis court thing. I get it. I mean, okay, so whether it's tennis, hockey, softball, soccer, they all should be paying rent to the town of Renfrew. It's the town of Renfrew who owns this property. We should be the ones upkeeping it, and we should be the ones collecting the rent. And for me, it's like, it's not fair. There's people going to be watching this meeting tonight, and they're going to say, holy cow, we our organization pays rent. Why aren't they paying rent? And unfortunately, this agreement needs to change. And if we have somebody, if we can utilize these tennis courts for pickleball, why not? Because it's another revenue generator. And that's the whole point of this thing. When you look at the revenue that Kevin has secured already, we can always use more revenue. So I have a real problem with the fact that there's no real hard numbers for the tennis courts. And realistically, if we've been fine with 4 all along, why would we add 2 more courts? And who's going to pay for that? Is the tennis group going to pay for that? Because that's not really fair. I mean, if the 4 have been fined, then you should keep the 4. I mean, I don't, like I said, it really bothers me. We have a really great project, but then when you find out, like I said, it hasn't been fair all along for the last 40 years for different organizations. Yeah, I have a huge problem with it. And I'm sure there's public people out there who are going to have a real problem with it. So I would, I hope that I do want to move forward with this, but I want to have a clear understanding on what the rent is going to be for everybody, not just one organization or 2 organizations. It has to be fair for everybody. I mean, we don't want to get into another problem where we own a piece of property and somebody else is maintaining it and it's not being maintained the way we want it to be maintained, and it's our property. Like, who does that? And now this, I just find out this is a second piece of property that has had this weird way of operating, like one innovation and now the tennis courts. It's weird. I don't understand it.
We've got 3 people on the go here.
We are not one innovation.
Well, you're behaving like it. Like you've got other people.
Wow.
Don't you see the similarity in it? Like, look at the similarity. The town of Renfrew still owns the property, and you've got a group of other people who are trying to run it and maintain it and determine who gets to utilize it. Like, if the pickleball wants to use it, why not? It's another revenue generator.
Before we go any further with this, there's 3 people that are hand up. Director Hill has said you're in the process of negotiating something new with the tennis club, and we don't know what that's going to be yet. But that is your goal right now. Do I understand that?
That is correct.
Okay. So whatever is there now will probably change. So Reeve Emo, Councillor Sidney, and then Councillor Hines.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I agree with you. I think we all feel a little more. We'll feel a little more comfortable when we have something on paper to talk about the future and moving forward, because it's an all-inclusive project, and we're gonna have a lot of different members of the community involved in this in October of 2022, and I think as with leases and all other kinds of agreements, it'll be nice to have all of those in the binder on a go-forward basis. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the contribution will be from the tennis club, what the new agreement will be, what kind of partnership we can have with them. I think it makes a lot of sense to wait until we have something on paper that we can project out and then have a really informed conversation about. So, as I said, I'm looking forward to moving forward with this.
Okay, Councillor Sidney.
I was just going to sort of echo that. I know that conversation got a little bit carried away, and I think I don't want to lose sight of the great project that's here. And I do welcome the opportunity to discuss with the tennis club. I think it would be a great thing to get a better understanding of how it flows and how it's been going. And to sit here and bat it around for another hour or so is just going to get us nowhere. And obviously the work that's gone in, I don't want it to be lost with the staff that we're just going to debate at tennis courts, because that is coming to a rec meeting. We will discuss it. It will be transparent. We will come back with some information and we'll go from there. But I don't want to lose sight of the hundreds and hundreds of hours of work that the staff have put in to get us to this point and have it lost on a debate about tennis courts. So I would just hope we can agree to move on forward and welcome that opportunity. Maybe we can set up a meeting with rec and the tennis club as soon as possible so that we can get a better understanding of how it works and And I'm totally open to that and welcoming that fully, and just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of how positive this night is supposed to be. So that's all I want to say. So I welcome the opportunity.
Councillor Hines?
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Sidney. You're very right. We need to move on beyond tennis courts. And I will say that the tennis courts only arrived on this project because when the cultural center design came through, there was no place to put it but on the middle of the tennis courts. So that's why that's part of this. It was never to be a part of this before, but just the way that it needs to be designed and where that needs to be located, that's why that's in here. And unfortunately, that discussion has come to the table. And as far as relating us to the Innovation Center, I don't think that that's very fair. The club pays the hydro costs, and other sports do not pay the hydro costs. They pay a certain fee. So we really need to get the balance sheet done up, that this is what the agreement has been over these years in regard to paying hydro. And when it comes to maintenance, Director Hill can tell you that any maintenance that has been done out there has been overseen, or he is knowledgeable about anything that needs to be done. There's minimal maintenance if you take care of it, and like anything. And yeah, so it's not on the same page. And I certainly look forward to, the tennis club are looking to speak with Director Hill tomorrow. I've already talked to Director Hill, but hopefully we can do that tomorrow and just see where we're going with that. They're ready to chat it up with him and then with the Recreation Committee.
Okay, so we put that to bed now.
Yes, enough bashing.
Any other further discussion on the report? Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. It's a very, very good report. Okay, all in favor of accepting the report? Okay, carried 100%. Next motion, the council support and endorse the Mattaway Activity Center expansion project as presented. And further, that council authorize staff to enter into CCDC 5B contract negotiations with a successful proponent following final review of the request for proposal evaluations. And further, that Renfrew Council authorize staff to continue to negotiate a financial commitment with the Renfrew Tennis Club and report back to the next regular meeting of council. And further, that a special meeting of council be held the week of June 28, 2021 to consider a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a CCDC B5 contract with a successful proponent. Mover, please. Councillor Sidney, seconded by Councillor Hines. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor? Okay, all 7 voted in favor. Thank you. Okay. Next motion, the minutes of the Diversity Ad Hoc Committee meeting held June 16, 2021 be received. The mover, please. Councillor Sidney, second by Councillor Hines.
Your worship, if it's okay, I will take that from Councillor Sidney as I chaired that meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just going to get to that. My computer was doing something to me here, so I had to check.
All right. Thank you, your worship. We had our meeting on June the 16th. It was electronic, and I will move you along to. Oops, fingers don't seem to want to work. To page 2. And we started talking about staff training. And if you look down through it, we're in the process of trying to get some information together. I have had some conversations with Amo and Roma about modules because that was one of the commitments we made was to try and assist getting some information for staff. we want to do a soft rollout of this committee at newcomers night. So we're looking at getting a table so we can start getting some information ready for that. We're working through the schools just to get a sense what the schools are doing in terms of education, and is there an ability to partner. We've also had some conversation with the Police Services Board as well. And we're in the process of setting up a bit of a resource Dropbox with information that we can share with people when they ask questions. The library has been very very supportive, and they also have a list of books and some online resources that they'll be packaging together so that when people come in to ask about diversity and inclusiveness, they'll have some materials for them. So with that, we focused on the 3 pillars for our group, which is education, communication, and community safety. We're going to put together a bit of a web page with those themes and some information. And the library has agreed to monitor that, or develop it and monitor it, and there will be some assistance. So if you move over to 9.3, we have some pride stickers that are going out, and you'll see them on the municipal vehicles and buildings, and then out in the community as well. We're just working our way around how to get those out there. And then also, I think we're going to use the BIA as the instrument and their membership. So then we moved on to new business, and there was some tagging, and some was anti-Semitic in town, and we're going to suggest that people approach the town and then talk to bylaw enforcement about it. Community improvement, we educate a little bit about the community improvement plan, some accessibility issues with storefronts and things like that. And then we listed the variables, are sort of our work plan in the next little while is the web page. We're going to work with the town to get the social media whenever there's days or months of significance to have some solid messaging about those. We think they've done a pretty good job. But we just want to make sure we coordinate. We've got a little bit of a calendar now so that we can have messages developed ahead of time. The 3 pillars, as I mentioned, education, communication, community safety, tonight, and the stickers, and then accessibility. So those are the work plan for members to focus on for our next meeting. And there's no closed meeting, of course. And we finished, we'll be meeting on July the 21st. That's what I can report to you, Your Worship.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Sedney.
It's actually not about the report, just a comment about how impressive this committee is and how hard and dedicated they are. And just to point out that the progressive flag was raised today at Town Hall. So thank you to Council for allowing that to happen. That's it.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. New and unfinished business. I have one item, and I have to say I'm not maybe as prepared for this as I should be, but as you well know, Treasurer O'Reilly is going to retire in, I think it's about 7 days now. And he's been a long time treasurer of the town of Renfrew. So what I'd like to do is turn this little session over to council members if they want to say a few words before he departs. So Councillor Sidney is starting it off.
First of all, Carrie, I'll be honest, you've certainly been a great, how would I say, leader, educator, coming on board here. Being the new guy in 2014 and looking at a town budget going, what the heck is this? And what does that mean? And oh, why is this a different color? And your knowledge and your expertise and everything is without reproach. And to be honest, I'm going to miss you. But I wish you all the best in your retirement and all the best to you and your family. Enjoy it. Don't be surprised if you do get a text or 2 from me just in the interim, just to say, hey, what's going on here? But I wish you all the best, and thanks for all your hard work and countless hours you put into it and making sure our budgets are on point and stuff like that. You definitely a great man and a great member of the team, and we will miss you. Thank you.
Okay, next. Okay, Councillor Jonathan.
Yeah, Carrie, I'm definitely going to miss you because you were the one guy that I would call and or message or whatever. And, you know, you were always the one that was able to guide me and help me to understand a lot of the financial part of it. And I just really like working with you. So kudos to your retirement. I'm happy you're retiring, but, you know, you're definitely going to be missed.
I think Reeve Emo had his hand up.
Thank you. I had the good fortune to work with Carrie on the Finance Committee and then also HR. And there always seemed to be a series of challenges that called for some flexibility and some prior knowledge, and also an ability to try and break the issue down into plain language. And I certainly appreciated our conversations. Some of them are best kept confidential, but I certainly appreciated that freedom to be able to exchange ideas. You know, I don't think we ever had an argument or disagreement. We certainly talked things around, and then until we came to a spot where we could agree on it, and then we come back out and make a pitch on it. So I certainly appreciated that freedom to have those kinds of conversations and not worry about you know, something bouncing back on me. And you know, I've had the good fortune to know of Carrie. I didn't know him that well. I knew him in high school, and Faye I knew a little better because she was a couple desks down from me. So you know, I've always kept an eye on both of you and your progress and the progress of your family. And I think you should be proud of your time here. You should be proud of your time as a son and a father and as a husband, and good luck and enjoy it. And I know you're dying to be a grandfather and enjoy that full time. So good luck to you, and I'm glad for you. Thank you for everything. I've certainly appreciated your input, your support, and your wisdom, and you're usually wise counsel. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Councillor Hines, then Councillor Coolidge.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Carrie, how do you say this to you? Like, you've been just awesome in that job. You're a wealth of knowledge after being here for many, many years. You know the background on so many things, and you're super, super organized and always striving to make us to present things in a very understandable way. And for that, I so appreciate that. Your time that you've spent on all of the budgets that I've been a part of with this council and previous councils. It's been awesome because you just bring it back in so many ways for us to be able to grasp it and understand it. And you certainly have that knowledge in your head, and I'm very happy that you're going to give us a bit of time with the new treasurer, that they're going to be able to rely on you a bit and learn from you. We do know your phone number, so we will maybe call you now and again. And it just really has been a pleasure. When you said June 30th, it seemed like a long time away, and that, but here it is, it's coming up. So I wish you all the best with your 3 sons and 3 daughter-in-laws and your 4 wonderful granddaughters and your lovely wife Faye. May you enjoy all of that and all the grass cutting and the pool work you have at home to do. So no more weekends at the town office.
Okay, Councillor Coolidge.
Thank you, Your Worship. How do I say this? I didn't always agree with Treasurer O'Reilly, and that probably goes back, I don't know, maybe 40 years. But I can honestly say that if you needed to know something from the background of it, he was the guy to ask, off the record, if you will. And when it came to the town's operations, its staffing, its departments, generally, if he didn't have the answer, he knew where to find it. And I do respect the fact that he always shot from the hip. You knew where you stood, and he'd tell you pretty quickly if you were standing in his spot. I do congratulate him on his retirement plans, and I hope they are more than he even expects. I hope they're just the best ever.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Just quickly, Kerry, the sentiments expressed tonight are very heartwarming and touching. Yes, I do very much, or had appreciated the time that you spent in your offices with me, going over any particular matter. Time was never rushed in your office, and you gave a thorough explanation and addressed most, if not all, my concerns. The town, you've been an asset to the town. And I wish you all the success and congratulations on your soon to retirement. Cheers. Thank you.
Kerry, I'd just like to say we've worked together fairly closely. He's on chair of planning, of course, and we've had many meetings we've had to work on together. And basically, knowing that finance is kind of the backbone of the town, nothing seems to happen without money. And sometimes I wonder where you had it all hid, you know, but you always seem to find it when we needed it. And the one thing I will say to you is, like, you and I didn't always agree, that's for sure. And so I'm glad to hear that you understand now that I was always right. I'm not sure he agrees to that right now.
He's muted.
But anyway, Gary, I'm just kidding. But I really and truly want to wish you all the well in your retirement. It's you have a wonderful family, and to be able to spend time with them, and quality time now that you can spend with them without that stress factor of having to get back to work or not be where you want to be sometimes. And so anyway, all the best to you in your retirement. I hope you really, really enjoy it. And anyways, I also want to congratulate your good wife on having you retire, because I think she's been such a big part of your life. And you know, and I've talked to her different times over the years, and you know, my God, Kerry works a lot of overtime, etc. And so I know she's been behind you all these years. So again, Kerry, moving forward, thank you very much for your effort for in the town of Renfrew for all the years you've been here, and all the success in the world as you move forward into your next endeavors. Yes.
Thank you, Mary Edie. If I may take an opportunity here, I did prepare a few notes. They last about an hour and a half. If Mr. Hill's presentation hadn't gone on as long as it had tonight, I'd gladly read them to you, but let me give you the Reader's Digest version. First of all, thank you all for your wonderful comments. A couple of points were touched upon that give me particular pride. This was expressed in the newspaper article that came out about a month ago, that, you know, I've, in addition to being treasurer involved with finance and numbers and everything else, I also felt that part of my role was as a teacher. Not that I ever wanted to be a teacher, but each time a new council came around, there was always 1 or 2 or 3 or sometimes 6 new people on council, that a lot of it is a learning process and a teaching process, and they tend to rely on, as the mayor has said, there isn't too much we do within the municipality that doesn't have a price tag tied to it. So I seem to be involved in a lot of that things. And to go back to one of his comments about pots of money, I think you'll find there's still a couple of old tobacco cans buried in my office here someplace that when you're really stuck for funds, you'll be able to dig them up. Now, just to pick off one at a time here, Mike Coulis's, or Councillor Coulis's memory is probably as good as his math, Merck. 40 years ago, it's probably closer to 50 that he and I attended high school together, but we're not going to age each other right now, but that's, I do thank him for his comments. And the new chapeau that Mike gave me today, I'll be wearing gladly. Poolside or on the golf course or someplace going forward, but thanks, Mike, for that. The other thing that was touched on is I always took sort of pride in the fact that I was that bit of a confidant to anyone. If anyone took the time to come to see me or took the time to say, can you spare 5 minutes? I don't think there's any member of council that could ever say, no, Kerry turned me down, he just said he didn't have time. I think I've always tried to make time. There have been many, many, many off the record conversations. A lot of those deal with things like, what's more background on this, or how do you think this would fly if I suggested that, and those type of things. And it's not just from the newer members of council. That comes from people that even have more experience in municipal politics than I do as a municipal employee. That it's just that uncertainty as to what is the feeling of the general public, and what can we do and what we can't do. So thank you again. I was thinking about this in the weekend. I've only worked under 3 mayors, 2 Reeds, and 13 different councillors in 14 years. So I've had 18 bosses in 14 years. So I think the turnover there is probably higher than what it is with the Treasury Department. And if I can echo something I said before too, Bill McMahon was here for, I believe it was almost 32 years before I came. So for 46 years, the town of Renfrew's only had 2 treasurers. Hopefully the person that we recruit will be around for a good long time too, because I think that continuity is important. You gain the history and you have that knowledge of the organization, that, it might be some issue that comes up once every 3 or 4 years, but that wealth of knowledge is something that's almost irreplaceable. So once again, thank you all. No, I don't have any immediate plans. I know that I'm going to try to take some time this summer, because I look back through the vacation schedules for the last 5 or 6 years and realized that I never took much time off in July or August. It just seemed that the rest of my staff wanted off, so I tended to stay here. And there is one more weekend I will be working. This upcoming weekend, I plan to be here to start removing all personal items from my office. So I think that'll be a couple of hours on a rainy Sunday or something to fill a couple of boxes and start clearing out. But once again, thank you all for not just your words tonight, but for your support over the years that you've been on council, and to prior members of council as well. I've always felt that, as you've said, we didn't always agree, but at some point in time, we agreed to disagree, or at least accepted each other's point of view, and moved on from there. So thank you.
Okay, just one more little tidbit. Did you know that who the treasurer was in town of Renfrew in 1898? His name was George Eady Jr.
I was gonna say Edie.
The budget was probably $12. This year's budget, just for information, I was looking at that too. If we look at capital, operating, water and sewer, and then throw in the money we collect for the county and schools, it's a $56 million budget for 2021. It's substantial.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Anyway, Carrie, we're gonna move on here, but again, thank you very much. Okay. The Renfrew Town Council, pursuant to section 18 of the procedural bylaw number 34, 2011, has amended, approved the addition of a closed session item on this agenda, more specifically as it relates to labor relations fire department. Over, please. Councillor Sedney, Reed Vimo. All in favor? Okay. The next motion, the Renfrew Town Council convened in closed session for the following matters pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001. Pursuant to section 239(2)B, the Municipal Act 2001, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, more specifically as it relates to the appointment of an acting treasurer. Pursuant to section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act 2001, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by municipality or local board, more specifically land sales update. Pursuant to section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act 2001, litigation or prudential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, more specifically as it relates to management of the Innovation Center by the Renfrew Industrial Commission. Pursuant to section 239(2)H of the Municipal Act 2001, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board of Lake Canada, a province or territory or a crown agency of any of them. More specifically, it relates to the utilization of the town hall complex. Pursuant to section 239(2)D, the Municipal Act 2001, labor relations or employee negotiation. more specifically, for labor relations, fire department. I need a mover, please. Reed Beamer, seconded by Councillor Evans. All in favor?